Oh, I guess we're on. YouTubers, what is going on, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? We do have a situation here that is very serious, to say the least, with the election dooming closer and closer, coming closer and closer to to the selective election date, which is November the 3rd. I do have concerns about what is coming up. I am a Trump supporter, but nevertheless, it's not really, I won't say a Trump supporter. I will say I am a supporter that is going to defend our rights, as I do, especially in Washington, where they are making daily decisions on the laws of the land that can affect us negatively or positively. So I am a supporter of if it's a Democrat, I would support them. All in the name of Bill of Rights, constitutional rights, Second Amendment, First Amendment, you name it, every right that was enshrined on us by our founding fathers, I am a supporter of. Now, this doesn't go as far as it doesn't go to say, or it does go to say that Trump has his own issues. But look, I didn't elect him to be a priest. I elected him to be our president. And I tell people this, especially the middle of the road people that are on the fence, as well as the other side, the Democrats that are siding against him and pointing at every little fault that he does. Nevertheless, this election is serious, and this is my first download video, and just comparing the two candidates, which just looking at Biden and going by, what him and Obama did, or what Obama and him did, him being vice president, was destructive, to say the least. 8 years, and it really, really, really pisses me off that all of a sudden this guy, Biden, after 47 years, has all these great ideas now. Excuse me just a minute. He has all these great ideas now of what he's going to do. Oh, he's going to invest in U.S. manufacturing, U.S. jobs, all this bunch of crap. Look, and look, he called Trump a clown, and if Trump's a clown, then him and Obama must be freaking idiotic idiots. These guys, I mean, my God, man, you want to compare records, and you want to talk about, like he did in the first debate, this happened under your watch, as he said to Trump about the virus. We're gonna, that's what we'll do. We'll compare what happened under whose watch, and what we'll do is we'll go off your watch, Biden, you, Obama, and you guys ran up 9.3 trillion in debt. You never approached anything higher than 1.5 GDP. You had 0% benchmark interest rates from the Federal Reserve. And they broke their back to help y'all out with higher GDP, which you could not obtain. And the reason for that was over-regulated, regulations all over the place. You unveil a health care bill that's supposed to be so great, but you fail to tell the American people, oh, by the way, if you don't take this, if you don't have insurance of any kind, then we're going to penalize you, and it's going to be $1,000. Well, you left that out of the spotlight. Didn't quite remember to tell the American people about that. And quite frankly, if it had been known that y'all were concealing that information, good and well it wouldn't have been popular. It would never went over with the American people. But that's what y'all do. You guys hide these pitfalls, and so. Everything from the Paris Accord, environmental deal. Look, I'm all about saving our planet, helping out with clean water, clean air, But come on, man, you're really barking up the wrong tree when you start looking at us, when you need to be looking at the heaviest polluter of the planet. And we know who that is. That would be China. And these guys are building, on the average, 1 or 2 new coal plants, a month, if not more. That's probably a very conservative number right there. So, and then you got the Iran nuclear agreement that Obama was so happy about, that had so many holes in it like a damn strainer. And then we got to fly, 150 million, or was it a billion? I'm not sure. Is a lot of money. You flew pallets of cash in the middle of the night over to Iran. I think a question that many people fail to ask about that situation is, well, why would they ask Iran? Why would they ask for cash? Why not ask? Why would they ask for cash? Why not ask for a digital? You can do cashless and numbers, digital numbers. Deposit that in the Iranian bank system in their currency, but yet you wanted U.S. cash, cold cash. Well, I can answer that for you. And the simple answer to that is, what do terrorists like to deal with? And when it comes to currency, to buy their weapons, to whatever they got to do to move resources around, to buy resources, cold hard cash. So that's one of the reasons why they did go with cash. And there you go. You got Obama funding the terrorist networks with taxpayers' money. So, man, this guy has really, he's done such a good job. He did such a good job, him and Biden. It just really, off the chart, great stuff. So it really blows my mind how this guy could even get 1% of the vote, being Biden now. This guy can't seem to keep his hands off little girls. Mostly little girls, some boys, but mostly little girls. But the media has no problem with that. It is really, really unbelievable what this guy's running around preaching about now. And then we want to talk about COVID-19 and how he puts every drop of bloods of Americans, 210,000 that died from the virus. It's been already brought into light that many of those numbers, I wouldn't say half, but I would say a good quarter of those numbers are probably inflated. And I've heard stories on the news media. Not that you can believe everything you hear, but it would do hospitals a great deal of good, so they think in their sight, to actually steer many deaths that were not by COVID-19, steer them into those deaths of the COVID-19 category in order to get federal funding off of each death. There's incentive for these hospitals. Now, the issue for them to actually falsify documentation and claim a reason of death over or creating a fact reason of death, which would be the COVID, versus the actual reason of death. So you would think it'd be lawsuits out the yin yang for families that have found out that the reason of cause of death was by the virus when the family knows better. There should be, if not. So I do wonder why there's not more lawsuits if that is actually happening. But nevertheless, this is my first YouTube video, and I really wanted to launch it and bring some light to the American people. Those who are sitting on the fence, those who are not quite sure on who to vote for. Look, you've got two candidates. You've got one guy that's already had his 8 years in destruction, and all of a sudden, like I said a little bit ago, he's all of a sudden he's got great ideas. Actually, I really relate this to a coach on a winning team, and you've got a lineman coach, or maybe it's not even part of the coaching staff. You've got an individual that hates the coach so bad, but loves his side and his team, but he wants to get rid of the coach, kill the coach, get rid of him, but keep his playbook. So that's what you got. That's what you got right here as far as Biden. Many people are going to vote against Trump just out of sheer hate because of 2016 elections, and because of their failure to actually vote for the right candidate, which was Hillary Clinton, which was another joke, I might add. And so, you got, look, as I just described Biden, I don't even see how he gets 1% of the vote, because, I mean, he's running around claiming, Trump's responsible for every death. He has not one time acknowledged the fact that there was 6 weeks of concealed information from China about this virus. Now, it's a funny thing to me. It seems like Bill Gates did, because Billy Boy, well, he decided to step down from the board of Microsoft roughly 2 months, 8 weeks to 6 weeks before the unveiling of the virus. So Billy Boy knew what was coming, and who all he told, as far as he knew, or whoever else he may have told. And I'm sure it was a tight-knit circle, but I'm sure he notified a couple other people in his tight circle what was coming. So he was stepping down to get prepared to take on this big task to save the world, when he's been on tape several times, video several times, conferences, talking about depopulation. So trust you me, it's not all about saving the planet. He's looking to set things up to actually depopulate. This vaccination is not a good thing. I did see a statistic that showed 30% of Americans would not take it. I don't know what the number is on that, considering there's 320 million people in this country. 30% of that would be, what is it? Almost 1 million people, maybe. I don't know. I might be off on that, but it's probably a good bit of people. And so, if they can, what they would do in that event, if they do make a vaccination that's mandatory, well, they would round up the 30%, and of course send them the similarity to China's re-education camp, get them in FEMA camps because they're deemed as dangerous and infected, and that would be a way to depopulate the first step of depopulation. So these people are definitely deranged and sick. But back to the election at hand, my advice to you is, look, you got Kamala Harris. She's plainly stated that she wanted free health care for legal immigrants, open borders, gun control, cut back on the high capacity magazines, get rid of these weapons of war that they're running around talking about. Look, when they start calling a gun assault weapon, especially the AR-10s, AR-15s, the 308s, 223s, 5.56s, and so forth, deeming them weapons of war, it's and they call them assault weapon. Well, look, I mean, anything that you use on somebody to inflict an injury can be it's called an assault weapon. Whether if I threw a knife at somebody and it stuck them, well, they'd get me for assault because I used that knife in the assault. That was the weapon. So they want to deem these I guess you could say these weapons that make it unfair to the authorities one day, maybe when the authorities do come to confiscate or to round you up, they do not want you having any kind of fair fight, even when it comes to firefights. They want to have the upper hand. So yeah, Miss Harris, she's a joke. And then, you know, I want to point out something in the vice president debate the other night when she spoke to Mr. Pence and said that out of the 120, 130 judges they had put on the court, not one was black. I tell you, these people are race baiters like never before have I ever seen race baiting going on. And American people has to be smarter to filter this crap. You know, so what she's basically saying is, look, we don't care if the person is not qualified. He needs to be a certain race to get the status quo balanced out. That is a joke. You know, I mean, really. I mean, how much sense would it be if, you know, I mean, you got President Trump is a pilot of this country, and he's a white man, for those that are running around yelling about white privilege. And you find out, you know, hey man, we got a dude. You know, you're up 30,000 feet in the air, and you've got a deranged a handful of people that find out that, look, yeah, this so and so pilot up there, we found out who he is. We hate him. We know him. We're just going to go up there and we're going to throw him out of the plane. And you're like, no, you're not throwing him out of the plane. He's the only pilot we got that can fly this plane. We're 30,000 feet in the air. No, we're going to throw him out. Well, who's going to fly the freaking plane? Oh, we got a black guy back here. We're going to put him behind the controls. Well, can he fly? Well, it don't matter. He's black. I mean, look, if it doesn't matter what race you are, if you're qualified to do the job, put him or her up there. They're qualified. They're purple. They're yellow. They're orange. It doesn't matter. They're doing a good job. You know, it's just stupidity. It's just stupidity. It really is for her to say that. But you don't expect anything less out of these idiots. And that's what they know how to do. They race bait. And when they don't get their way, they pitch their fits like I have in the past 4 years because they didn't get their way in the election. Yeah, I do find it, and I'm all over the board here a little bit just talking about different issues. This is my first video. I do find it somewhat highly suspect that a virus would break out and riots and destruction and all this stuff breaks out during election year. I do find that highly suspect, highly. Back to the virus and originator, where it originated from, which was under Chinese watch. Their government should be held accountable. It happened under their watch, as Mr. Biden pointed out to Trump. Always happened under your watch. No, wait a minute. This originated from China and was concealed for 6 weeks. It happened under their watch. They're responsible. That's the bottom line. But we understand, Joe, you get a lot of money, you get a lot of incentives, or you have in the past from the Chinese, you and your boy Hunter. So, and it's no big secret, okay? I mean, how in the world you can pull this off with no questions asked is beyond me. I mean, what was your son doing with you? Was he on a freaking field trip? You know? And then you guys come back 10 days later and mysteriously $1.5 million appears in Hunter's financial investment firm. Now, what I want to know is, what kind of information did you give the Chinese in return? That's what I want to know. Furthermore, I'd like to know this. Of course, Hunter got a free flight over there. Of course, he went, well, actually it wasn't free. We paid for it. Taxpayers paid for that little flight. Why didn't he take if it was just him and it was his business dealings by himself, why didn't he fly over by himself? So, he should have just went over by himself. Do the deal by himself. If he can get the money that way, that's fine. But him flying with Dad, that just, that's pretty highly suspicious. It really is. So, and I don't know if, and I think probably many people have seen that video, but it is called Biden's Riding the Red Dragon. Many of you may have already seen it, but if you haven't, you need to watch that, and it will give you a clear indication of just how much Mr. Joe Biden loves the Chinese government. You know, as Biden said the other night, all the stuff happening under Trump's watch. Look, it's fairly obvious. You know, when Biden said, "Look, you know, you vote for me, this destruction and rioting, it's going to stop. But if you don't, it's just going to get worse." My God, why don't somebody call him out on that? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Well, you must be calling the shots, dude. That must be your army. You just admitted to it. You just admitted to it. And nobody is calling him out on this crap. Nobody. So if you know, back to Trump, if you want to compare apples to oranges, which there really isn't no oranges, which would be Biden, he's a lemon, Trump being an apple, and what he's done by cutting regulations, cutting corporate taxes to get our jobs back, you know, doing away with the penalty mandate that was hidden in the Obama the Healthcare Reform Act, to giving back private citizens their land back that the federal government had confiscated over the past 20 years. The land was equal to the size of the state of Texas that the federal government had taken away through zoning or whatever. Trump has done a lot of good. He has done a lot of good. Now, you know, he does drive me nuts sometimes when he gets on Twitter, and he does yak a lot. He does run his mouth sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, just tone it down, man. Just go by actions. But what you're doing, just let your actions talk. And it's pretty obvious his actions are definitely hated by the far left, because that is intrusive to them. They want to destroy our freedom, take more of our freedoms from us, and in the process it makes them stronger. So this cannot be. I'm going to go, as far as voting, I am going to go early vote. So this is just to sidestep all the crowds. But on the voting category, I am highly concerned that the American people will not make a just decision. They really need to stop and think just what all good that Trump has done for this nation, and what all he's prepared to do for the next 4 years. Yeah, I just find it amazing that back to Biden for a minute, that he would all of a sudden have all these great ideas. I'm like, where was the ideas 4 years or 8 years ago? That wouldn't even, no, that's not your interest. Your interest was to deteriorate this nation, continue to let the wealth get sucked out, continue to strengthen China, to continue to have a weak spine like a chicken noodle pasta. Yeah. And so this guy is really a freaking joke. And as I already said, I am shocked that he would get any more than 1%. Now, he'd probably get a real good voting percentage from the Chinese government, which they definitely do like him, and it's understandable. Speaking of the Chinese government, you know, it's just amazing that Trump also unveiled the den of spies down in Houston in the Chinese embassy. That was very interesting. This stuff was allowed to grow out of control under the Obama administration, as well as probably the Bush administration as well. So look, he's pulling us out of wars. He's pulling us out of Afghanistan, and trying to save lives, trying to get our ladies and men back to this shoreline so they can get back to their families, get back to healing. I mean, I understand when you sign up for the military, that basically means war. But on the other hand, we don't want generals and politicians sending our kids, our gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen, into political wars justified by their delusional actions. We just don't need it as a nation. We don't need more blood spilled. As a nation, we don't need no more money wasted. So he has did a lot of good as president. And so look, they always say, by what you do in life, you judge by the people that like you or hate you. And if and so it's pretty obvious the ones that hate him are the ones that are not for the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Man, now they drape themselves in it. They put their flag, our flag, around them, but really, the real identity is hidden under them. Yes, it is, and it's not the American flag. Trust you me, it's not the American Constitution, Bill of Rights. Nope. So, back to the election. This is a serious situation, and there's not really much to compare to when you look at these two candidates. Trump actually did what he said he'd do. Now, how many politicians you know that actually do what they say? Everything from building the border wall to lower tax regulations on corporations, getting jobs back, he's created tariffs on the Chinese. He abolished the NAFTA, the free trade. I always said, look, it was nothing free to us. It costed us trillions of dollars. That was the biggest suction of wealth out of this nation ever to been bestowed on this nation. And he abolished that. It's amazing. It is amazing how much this guy is hated simply because he's an outsider. That's what it is. He's an outsider. They don't want him in the club. This whole thing reminds me with him entering Washington, being an outsider, like the movie Caddyshack. You know, when who was it, that Rodney Dangerfield? He entered the rich guy's clubhouse, and they were so tore up. They hated him, and in the end, he did all good, but he came in and wrecked their whole system. And so that's what you got here. You got Trump being an outsider. So it is highly important that we get this gentleman back in. I'll do my part. Being here in North Carolina, I feel like North Carolina will give Trump the electoral votes he needs. And keep in mind, the electoral, that's something else that the Democrats want to do. They want to abolish the electoral. They're going to abolish anything that is not going to give them a victory. That's what they want. So they want to go with the popular vote, which is highly stupid, and therefore only 3 or 4 states would be deciding who the president is every 4 years. But not so much as far as states. That's always what New York, California, Oregon, Washington State, New Jersey. But New York, I don't know if you can count on that because there's so many of the people pulling out of there and leaving. And I really do hope that people that are leaving are the ones that didn't vote for them type of idiots to put them in office. Because if the ones that are leaving are the ones that voted for that type of leadership, I hate to say it, that's what they deserve. That's what they get. So if it is, hopefully they learn something from that and they'll be more mindful of who they vote for and put in office, and understand, look, you just can't sit back and just not care about your not fight and not work to keep your rights, to keep your bill, to keep the Bill of Rights in play, to not work. And when I say work, you just can't sit back and just expect that our rights as citizens, constitutional rights, Bill of Rights, won't erode away by other politicians that want to destroy our rights or slowly take away our rights to give them more power. This is something you have to constantly work on. You have to vote. A lot of people don't vote, but yet when laws are given, when these laws are passed up in the House, up in the Senate, and it affects them negatively, then they start asking questions. Well, that's why you need to vote, because everything they do up there in Washington affects our life one way or another. If not short term, you'll know in the long term it affects you. So we need to take more interest in voting, and we need to do more research on the candidates, their track record. And look, there's back to the election at hand. Many people are going to vote for Biden just because they hate Trump, and it's really sad because they've lived in the darkness so long that when you give them light, it's blinding. So they don't know how to deal with it. So they would rather stay in the dark because the light hurts their eyes temporarily. It hurts their eyes. They need to really face reality and understand the system that they've lived under for the past 20 plus years by the regular politicians is a system that has gotten shook up now by an outsider. So they need to come to the realization that, look, you got a guy in there trying to cut the chains off of you. You've been in prison so long, you want to stay in prison, because when you go outside those walls, you feel like you don't have any security. So you want to stay in prison. So you got a guy that's trying to cut you loose and say, look, you're free, run, go. So this election is very, very serious. And I do try to alarm all my citizens on a daily basis at work and out in public of just how serious it is. One last thing, you've got, you've got several races here in North Carolina, governor, and several other ones that are up in play. We do have our Democrat governor, Roy Cooper, which I might say the only reason he got elected was because of the bathroom rights. I would say that. That's all he ran on. And it's sad that they put him in there because of that. So that really does, when I look at that and I look at the COVID-19 response that Biden's running around, putting the blame on Trump. And so what's this guy going to get elected because he can make things safer? Oh man, you're not going to get the virus if you put me in there. This guy is a freaking joke. And as I said, I highly suspect the timing of this. I really, really do. I really, really do. The year of the election. And the main topic is the virus. I mean, you really think about it for a minute. The job creation that Trump was doing, the getting our companies back, putting trade tariffs on China, everything that he was doing that really had the far left really roused up, that they wanted so bad not to be in play. They wanted so bad for these things not to be enforced. But Trump don't care. Like I said, he's an outsider. He's trying to do the American people's business. Just what he said he'd do when he ran in 2016. He's done what he said he'd do. That's the question that you need to look at, and the answer to the question is simple. He said what he said he'd do. He's done and more. Everything, you know, also he moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. I don't know how many presidents in the past all claimed that they were going to do it, and they didn't do it. This guy has delivered on all fronts. So, look, just be careful. I'm not telling you how to vote, but I am telling you to be careful. Adding the formula up, it's pretty simple. 5 doesn't come out of 2 plus 2, which is Biden. 2 plus 2 is 4. It's simple mathematics and looking at the formula of what each candidate has done. And Trump by far has done more than Biden and Obama ever did. They never did jack squat. So this is what we need to look at, and this is what we need to compare it to. We got less than a month away, and so that's the end of this segment of video. I'm going to download it. Let me know what you think. Agreements, disagreements. I'm all about being a healthy debater, and so definitely let me know what you think. This is my first YouTube video, and so I will be back soon. Thank you for watching.